Hello. So I told you guys I would be going over quiz 3 since we didn't have time to really study for it and we really flew through the content. So hopefully me going over these questions and the answers, well, I won't be telling you what the right answers are. Hopefully by paying attention, you'll be able to understand more what these questions are asking, and then based off of what you've read and what we've talked about in class, you should be able to answer these questions correctly. I'll be giving everyone a third attempt to submit this quiz, and from there, it's in your hands. Okay, so let's get started. The first question asks, if we're going to get the most value from our resources, entrepreneurs should invest in the following. Okay, should they make investments that are most subsidized, where the government's giving the most money to a company? Is that going to make sure that our resources are the most valued? Are they those that yield a profitable rate of return? Is it those that result in the production of the largest possible output, regardless to the value of consumers, or is it to reduce the value of resources and slow down or retard wealth accumulation? Okay, so when we look at this, if we just look at the question, if we're going to get the most value from our resources, so what do we want to do? Well, remember in class, we talked about if we want our resources to be taken from whatever they're valued at now and be turned into something that they're valued at more, right? That'd be us getting the most value, right? Making it so our resources are continuously gaining value. That'd be where they're most profitable, right? Because when it's profitable, you have a cost, right? And then you have your benefit, right? So if your cost is less than your benefit, you're gonna have a profit, and if your cost is more than your benefit, you're gonna have a loss, right? So if we want to get to where we have our cost being lower than our gain, then that's going to be a profit, right? So whatever this is, we want entrepreneurs to make profits because that means they're turning resources into things that are more valuable. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to the next question. If you want to earn a high income, you should figure out what others value. Why should you figure out what others value? Is it because you can charge a higher price than the alternative suppliers? Is it because you will not have to compete in the job market? It's because others are willing to pay out attractive prices for the things they value? Or will it be because you'll gain at the expense of others? Well, we know with trade, do you gain at the expense of another person? Or is it that you gain and someone loses, like this question saying, or is it you gain and the other person gains as well? Okay, and others are willing to pay attractive prices for things they value. If you remember about our conversation about the convertible car, maybe go look at the slides and try to remember that conversation, or you can even go look at my video that I did over that day on 789. You will not have to compete in the job market. You can ask anybody that's competing in the job market whether or not, even if they're making a lot of money, if they have to compete, right? Yeah, even though I'm a teacher and I get paid, as much as we complain about not getting paid, we do get more paid more than the average worker if you factor in all of our time off that we have. Do I have to compete? I would certainly think so, right? If I just didn't teach, what would happen, right? You will then be able to charge higher prices than alternative suppliers, right? Do some companies charge higher prices than others? Well, yeah, but sometimes they have a better product, right? So could McDonald's get away with charging $10 for a cheeseburger? That's for you to decide, right? So let's move on to question 3. When the government finances a shovel-ready project through taxes or borrowing, this will result in what? So remember the last slide that we talked about for days 7, 8, and 9, okay, on those units. And we were talking about whenever the government takes money in order to provide for any sort of project, right? That money has to come from somewhere. So if that money is coming from somewhere, if they don't already have that money, they have to get that money, right? So if that money is coming from somewhere, it's coming from people, right? And the government gets money from people through taxes. So if the government needs more money, that means there's going to be more taxes, right? And then if they don't get it from the citizens, that means they're going to have to borrow it, right? And if they're borrowing it, the book talks about this, and if they're borrowing it, that means there's more competition for borrowed money, which means that the price of borrowed money is going to increase, which the price of borrowed money is interest rates, okay? So you would, there may be There's going to be more money being asked of the citizens, whether it's taxation or if it's going to be borrowing. Okay, and then you have to ask, is this, what does this do then? Because all of these questions then deal with what it's going to do to the private sector employment. If more people are going to work for this government project, does that leave more or less people to work in the private sector for individuals, and businesses? Let's go on to number 4. When the government funds a project that will create jobs, the funds for the project, will have to either be taxed or borrowed. For this question, is this, what does this question have to do with this question, right? These questions kind of go hand in hand. Are essentially free because the project originated in the government sector. What do economists say about free lunches, right? There is no such thing about a free lunch, right? Will generate additional tax revenues that will pay for the project. If this is true, it's not true all the time, right? We don't know whether or not the funds for the project will generate additional tax revenues. And it's not always true, right? So you always got to be careful, And we'll leave private sector output and employment unchanged, right? Well, we got to think, if we're taking funds away to create government jobs, if the government has more jobs, does that leave more or less for the private sector, right? So which one of these answers do you think could be? Let's go on to question 5. A senator said this statement: the main goal of government policy is to create jobs. Economic progress depends on more jobs, period. Try to think back to what I said in class about what matters, right? Remember, I said it's not jobs that matters, right? It's jobs that get stuff that we can actually use and improve our standard of living, right? So is this statement true? Jobs create income, and income improves our standard of living? Well, jobs do create income, and that said, though, it's not the money we earn that improves our standard of living. It's the things our money can buy, right? So is this statement exactly true? That's for you to decide based on what we've talked about in class. In most recessions, governments must create jobs to increase consumer income. Did we talk about that in class much at all? Whenever the government creates jobs, is that is increasing consumer income really going to help people, right? And then based on that, is that really a true statement? And then false, production of goods and services people value, not just jobs, is the key to improving living standards. Okay, is this similar to what I said in class? If so, then if this statement is true, or if they're saying no, the above statement isn't true, right? It's false because of this. If this in case is the correct answer, then choose between 3, or maybe this one and this one's true, or these are both accurate statements, so then you would select this one. Or if this is the only accurate statement, you would select 2, and if this is the only accurate statement, you would select 1. Okay. So, number 6, profits and losses play an important role in helping do what? Ensuring that total profits in the economy exactly equal the total losses, right? Do we know that it's the exact case that for all the profitable dollars, for all the times that Microsoft is profitable, it's offset by all the times that they're at a loss? That's not true. There's a lot of companies, they go out of business because they never make a profit, right? So the total profits in an economy do not equal the total losses, right? We know this because we also grow, right? As we become more productive, we actually end up with way more profits than we do losses, because the profits, they're encouraged to continue, and the losses, those are encouraged to stop immediately. Business, they direct businesses towards productive projects and away from ones that are unproductive. Is that true? Is it that profits and losses bring people towards things that make us take our resources from things that are valued less to valued more, and away from the ones where we go from valued more to valued less? Is that true? Consumers decide which products they value the most by looking at each firm's profits. Do consumers decide what they value most by just looking at firm's profits? Right? If that's the case, Apple's more profitable than Samsung. Do people just always choose the Apple phone then? Okay. And then to signal to government which businesses are suffering losses so they can be subsidized, right? Whenever a business is losing money, is it the government's job to come in and say, okay, you're losing money, we need to go ahead and make sure you get money, that way you can, stay afloat and stay being a business, right? Or is it that, does the government let businesses go out of business, right? Have you ever seen a business go out of business? There's something to think about. Losses and business failures. Which of these statements is true following this? Okay, losses and business failures will help redirect resources away from unproductive projects. Will losses do that, right? If people are if a business is spending $500 to develop a product and it only sells for $400, are they going to keep doing that? Okay, because this is saying that they won't. Reflect that buyers value products highly relative to cost. Okay, reflect that buyers value the product highly relative to cost, right? Essentially, this is saying it cost the company $500 to make it. Do the consumers reflect that they value it more than that $500? Well, no. If the company's only selling it for $400, it's not necessarily the case. Does it indicate that sellers are producing the commodity at the lowest possible cost, right? This one, can we even tell from this? It could be that whatever this whole entire industry is selling is it could be at the lowest possible cost, but consumers don't want it, right? And this is something that can we tell a definite statement from this, okay? And if they are in an industry that is a good industry, where they're selling stuff, think of anything today that you buy on the market, right? Like a cell phone. Do we know that they're making those cell phones at the lowest possible cost? Are they in the market? Are they profitable? That would tell us. Do they illustrate why government subsidies are necessary if resources are going to be allocated efficiently? Illustrate why government subsidies are necessary if resources are going to be allocated efficiently, right? When a business is making a loss, right? Again, this is kind of like the question up here. Do signals then tell us that, okay, because this business is making a loss, we need to have the government give them money? Is that what's going on here? Is that what losses do? Is that what would lead us to be productive? Okay. Are we using resources more efficiently when we're rewarding companies for taking resources and using them to create something that's valued less? If a business is losing money on the things it's producing, this indicates what? I'm going to start from the bottom to the top. The resources would be used more productively, producing other things, right? Is it that these resources are valued so highly because they're being used to produce other highly valued resources instead of a company that's losing money, turning these things into something that's valued less? The consumers value the goods highly relative to the costs. Well, if the consumers value them highly, would this company be making losses? The business is producing the good at the lowest possible cost. Well, is there any evidence that they're producing at the lowest possible cost if they're making a loss? The resources used to produce the goods are too expensive and need to be subsidized in order to be used productively. Because these things cost too much to make, does that mean that we should have the government come in and pay for these things to be produced? When economic losses are present in a market, firms will tend to what? If Microsoft is making something for $500 and it only sells for $400, are they going to start making more? Are they going to increase output? Are they going to raise their prices? Right? If they raise their prices, is that going to enable them to just be in the market? Right? Because think if they raise the price, people still going to buy as much? Are they going to exit from the market? Are they going to stop selling that item? Or are they going to lower their prices regardless of cost so they can capture more money in the market, right? So if they're already, selling something and losing money on it, are they going to try to sell at a lower price and lose even more money, right? If the construction of a high-speed rail project creates benefits of $20 billion, while the construction cost is $45 billion, this indicates what? Guys, I want you to think about this one for yourself, okay? Let's say that someone says, hey, if you do this thing, you'll get $20. You'll get a benefit of $20. It's only going to cost you $45. Should you do that thing? All right. That's all I have. Guys, if this doesn't clear things up on this test, let me know. I don't want to just straight up give you the answer, okay? I don't think that's right, okay? I tried my best to explain the answers, explain the questions, maybe give you a little bit of guidance, but I don't want to just straight up give you the answers, okay? Please, if you need anything, feel free to ask. This video is 15 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and end it here because I don't want this to be a whole nother lecture. I'll post you an update as to what we'll be doing with quiz 3 and with the reading guides. Again, if you need anything, please feel free to contact me. Have a great day. See ya.